The room was buzzing with laughter, glasses clinking, voices overlapping in a rich, chaotic hum. Music floated softly, weaving through the air like silk. But it wasn't the music or the laughter that filled me with silence. It was her, Clara. She stood at the center of it all, radiant in her dress, her smile designed like armor, her laugh rehearsed like a melody she had played 100 times before. She owned the room, or so she thought. People's eyes followed her, admiring, envying, swallowing her performance like a sermon. She believed tonight was hers, but tonight didn't belong to her. Not anymore. I watched from the edge of the room calm, and noticed every detail of her facade was clear to me. The way her hand brushed another's arm just for attention, the exaggerated laugh to pull in the crowd, all of it used to cut me, to wound me when love blinded me. But now it was confirmation. Proof that the trap was closing. The night no longer belonged to Clara's illusions. It belonged to truth. She thought tonight was her victory. What she didn't see, blinded by her vanity, was the quiet storm beneath my silence. The plan stretching into every corner of this glittering hall. And as her voice carried high and sweet, my own voice, low and calm, whispered only to myself, she thought tonight was hers. She didn't see the trap closing. The story of her downfall didn't begin tonight. It began on a golden evening painted with sunlight. I had been walking home, weary from a long day, when I heard it. Her laugh, clear, dangerous in its beauty. She stood near a cafe, haloed by the sunset, her eyes glistening like they carried entire stories in them. When her gaze swept across the street and landed on mine, for a second, the world stilled. She smiled. I smiled back, and in that fragile, fleeting glance, I thought destiny had called my name. I didn't know it was the beginning of a stage play, and I was cast as the fool. Saw her again days later. It felt like fate guiding me into her orbit. The way she waved, as though I was someone she had always known, drew me in. Before I could catch my breath, I was already entangled. Days blurred into nights of long conversations, walking side by side under stars, and listening to her speak as though every word came from someplace fragile and sacred. I told her things I'd never revealed to anyone. I trusted her with my heart, and she gave me smiles, whispers, promises that built the illusion of forever. I didn't see the cracks then. I didn't want to, but cracks always come. At first, it was the way she dismissed my small victories. I'd tell her about a promotion at work, the pride in my voice, barely landing before she turned her attention back to her phone. I told myself she was distracted. I told myself love meant forgiveness. Later, she started asking about bigger houses, better cars, living larger. I smiled and said what we had was enough. Her silence that night carried more weight than words could. Marcus warned me. Olivia watched carefully, but I silenced them with my blind faith. Love is patience, I said. Love is trust. And maybe she was just tired. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe she just needed me to stay. But deep down, I felt a storm brewing. I just didn't yet admit it. I'll never forget that night. She said she was out with friends, her voice casual and interested. But the silence stretched until I couldn't take it anymore. Hours passed. Midnight came, and I found myself at a lounge downtown, pulled by instincts I couldn't shake. When I saw her, my world collapsed in one breath. She sat laughing with another man, her hand grazing his arm. And I heard her words that ended the me I once knew. Ethan, he's easy. He's harmless. He'll believe anything I say. Her laugh followed, cruel and intoxicating. My chest hollowed. My hands trembled. I stumbled out into the night. The city's lights blurred through the tears I hadn't allowed myself. She had betrayed me, but worse than that, she had mocked me. The woman I swore was my forever had turned me into a story, a punchline, and I broke. The nights that followed stripped me bare. I couldn't sleep. Every ceiling, every shadow whispered with her ghost. Dinners were empty rituals, one plate set beside another that never filled. I wrote letters I never sent, questions with answers I didn't want. Was I enough? Did you ever love me? Was all of it a game? My pen bled truths I couldn't speak aloud. Marcus saw me unraveling. You're disappearing, Ethan, he said, his voice sharp, his eyes begging me back to myself. Olivia, gentler, sat quietly across the table, her hand resting on mine, saying only, "You're still here, still here." Those words cradled me like light after a storm. And slowly, from that darkness, sparks began to bloom. Marcus reminded me I had a choice: be defined by Clara's mockery or take back the pen and write the ending myself. Olivia reminded me my trust hadn't been weakness, it had been courage. And if I could love so deeply, I could rise just as fiercely. That night, staring at my reflection in the window, I realized Clara hadn't ended my story. She had only started it. The fool she mocked was done being written by her hand. My silence would speak louder than her lies. So I built a plan. Revenge, but not the destructive kind Clara would expect. Calm, precise, poetic justice. I smiled at her again, played the role she believed was forever mine. She thought I was still under her control, still harmless. She didn't know every laugh she faked. Every secret she thought hidden had been woven into her downfall. I kept her close, tightening the rope without her ever seeing it. Marcus asked how I could stand it. Olivia pleaded that I not lose myself inside the fire. And yet, I knew this wasn't anger driving me. It was dignity. It was truth. The gala was perfect. Her moment, her stage, the night she thought would crown her. And so I fed her soft reassurances, kissed her hand, smiled at her proudly as though I was still the fool she thought she owned. But when I stepped to the stage, silence followed me. The air shifted, eyes turned, and I spoke calmly, every word slicing the illusions she had lived inside. For too long, I lived in a story written by someone else. But tonight, the mask comes off. Then the screen behind me lit with her words, her messages mocking me, her whispers of betrayal, the very proof of her duplicity. The room erupted in gasps, whispers, disbelief. Her glass fell and shattered. For the first time, Clara became speechless. She looked around for someone to defend her, but found only cold silence. The man she thought was her escape walked out on her. Friends turned their faces away. She stood alone, her empire in ruins. I looked at her one last time, not with hate, but with finality. The fool she mocked was the man who ended her game. And then I walked away, calm, steady, finished. Clara faded from the center, diminished to nothing before the very eyes she worshipped. She had no script left to read from. In the days after, whispers carved her legacy into shame. But I didn't linger there. My reflection no longer haunted me. I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was free. Betrayal had hurt me, yes, but it had also molded me. Trust is a gift. I learned it. And when someone betrays it, it doesn't mean you were weak, it means they weren't worthy of it. Betrayal is savage, yes, but it's also a teacher. And from it, I found strength. Revenge, I discovered, isn't cruelty. It isn't chaos. It is silence. It is dignity. It is walking away strong, knowing you reclaimed what they had tried to take from you. World looked different when I stepped onto the streets again. The lights felt clearer. The air felt lighter. Marcus remained by my side, proof that friendship outlives lies. Olivia reminded me with her quiet wisdom that scars don't destroy you, they remind you of strength. And I was no longer the fool Clara mocked. I was the man who survived her game and ended it on my own terms. Clara became my past, but I became my future. They can break your heart, but never your spirit unless you let them.